ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. Welcome to our Saturday morning session. Today we shall take a short overview of what we have seen in Ishavasya Upanishad, and then at the end we will go to those 4 verses which are actually in the form of prayer to the natural forces. So the actually some of the eminent scholars in the world are of the view that the first 2 verses of Ishavasya Upanishad, they give us the entire philosophy of how to live a good life. And that is what we must learn by heart and in a better way. Now the first question here arises, Ishavasya Midam Sarvam, that the Supreme is pervading the entire universe, whether the universe is moving or non-moving, whether it is a mountain or whether it is an animal or a human being, the Supreme is pervading everything. Now, how do we understand that? Now, this is a question which is not easy to grasp because there have been many debates on this issue. In fact, I remember when Swami Vivekananda went to his guru first time, he asked him, "Can you show me the God?" And Ramakrishna Paraman said, "Yes, I can." And there have been debate on this issue in variety of ways. So how do we understand that the God actually pervades the entire universe? You see, if there is no order in the system, then we can say that there is no person who is regulating. Like we do certain things in our life. For example, we organize a wedding ceremony. Now it is systematically planned, there's an order which continues, and every ceremony is performed in a particular order. If you organize a seminar, there is an order that you invite people, you fix a venue, and the invitees come, the guest speaker comes, and there's a system in which the things move. Similarly, if we look at this universe, there is a very, I would say, precise system in everything which happens, starting from galaxies and the solar systems. Now, for example, the sun moves in a particular speed. It moves in Uttarayana and in Dakshinayana. The earth rotates and earth revolves. Now there is a system of its rotating and revolving, and the combination of various planets in the solar system and the combination between the sun and the planet Earth creates what we call directions of the wind, the water cycle, the seasons, and then the seasons lead to birth of particular variety of vegetation in a particular season. So there's an order everywhere in the nature. You see the flowers bloom in the spring. When the autumn comes, the trees shed their leaves. When in India, when monsoon season starts, the rains come. So there is an order. Nobody can say that there is no order. In fact, there is a little deviation in the order, there could be disaster. And that is what the climate change is causing to some extent in certain cases. But still, the fundamental order remains. So that is one fundamental proof that there is some regulator, niyanta. There is an order, therefore there is somebody regulating the system. Otherwise, the stars will collapse They will collide. The solar system will not work. The planets will collapse. Things can, be totally disastrous. The second thing which we see, that every living being grows from inside. There is a force inside every living being which make him grow. For example, I was in the form of a fetus, and then the fetus developed. The eyes came, the ears came, the nostrils came, the mouth came, the brain developed, my hands and feet came out. All those things came out from nobody added them from outside. It's not like a car which are manufactured and parts are added. But all that happened from inside. There was a force inside. And there is a force inside which keeps regulating it. For example, I sleep. The sleep comes from inside. Even during the sleep, my digestive system keeps working. In the morning when I wake up, I have to, discard all the waste which is deposited in the body. So there is a system which is regulating my body. Though we claim that I am regulating myself, but it is not so. We are only helping little bit in the process. Basically, the hunger comes on its own. The digestive process works on its own. The waste discard system gives you the indications, so it works on its own. Even the breathing happens on its own. We don't do anything. So there is a force inside in each of the living beings which regulates the life, which makes it possible that your life runs in a systematic way. So that is another proof that there is a regulator. There is a supreme force, which is living in every living human being. The third proof which we see is in the form of creativity. You see, each one of us has a creative tendency. Somebody is a good writer, somebody is a good singer, somebody is a great painter, somebody is a great architect, somebody has the talent to run a business. He can do, production and distribution and services. There is a farmer who has different talent, that different creativity. Now that creative force comes from where? It is not that body which creates it, it's the force. That force is inbuilt in our system. That force is regulating our mind and our intellect, our entire thinking process. And that force is the force of the Supreme, which regulates everything in this world. And that is how this whole world is running in a particular way. So there's no doubt about it that there is a regulator, and that regulator has been called as the supreme force, which is there both in the moving and non-moving universe. That is the living beings and non-living beings. And that is what the first verse of Ishavasya Upanishad tells us, the first part of the first verse. And then it tells us that nothing belongs to you. Everything belongs to that regulator. And therefore, don't be greedy, but enjoy your life. Use the resources according to your need. Don't try to accumulate. Don't develop any attachment to them, and live your life comfortably. So that is where the first verse ends. And then the second verse tells us that you have no option but to do karma. That is inevitable in human life. You cannot remain without doing karma even for a second. That was also told by Lord Krishna in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, that nobody can remain without doing karma even for a second. So we have to do karma, but we should not believe that we are the doer. The karmas are happening because of the combination of the natural forces inside us and the supreme force which is regulating the nature. So it is the Panch Tattva as well as the supreme consciousness. The combination of the two is making everything possible which we are doing. And that karma, therefore, is not done by us. It is happening because of the regulator and the nature which is operating inside us. And that is what Lord Krishna said, that your tendencies are to a great extent determined by the three gunas of nature, that is Sat, Raj, and Tam, the combination of the three, and how they are placed in the operating circle of your body. And that is very fascinating because in Christianity there has been a question all the time that if God is kind and good, because the word good actually gave birth to God, he is good and he is doing everything, kind to the humanity, why cruel things happen in the world? And the answer to this was given thousands of years back in time by Lord Krishna, who said that this is happening because of the three forces of nature, Sat, Raj, and Tam, which are operating in our body system. So, the second verse of Ishavasya Upanishad tells us that don't get the ego that you are the doer. Keep doing. You have to do. There's no other way. And you should live a good life for 100 years without feeling that you are the doer. And then you will be not attached to the karmas you are performing. And you will transcend this world of birth and rebirth. So these are the two verses which many scholars have said that give us the essence of how to live our life. So first we must believe, we must have faith, and we can see that through evidence placed before us that the Supreme is pervading the entire universe, and we must keep doing our work according to the talents we have inherited, according to the capacity we have been given, and without the feeling that I am the doer. Then we can move forward in this world without any problems, and we will be able to transcend this, what we call Mrityu Lok. Now, two other things which I would like to emphasize. One is Vidya and Avidya, and next is Asambhut and Sambhut. Now, this Upanishad tells us that the combination of Vidya and Avidya is important for acquiring true knowledge. Now, Vidya is basically the knowledge of the Supreme. Avidya is the knowledge of this world. The world, how it moves, what happens in this world. For example, the science will discover the combination of iron or combination of water, how the water is formed, how iron is formed, how various metals react, how chemicals react. So there are millions of things which happen that way. What is gravitational force? How the earth becomes fertile? How the water cycle moves? So there are millions and trillions of forces in this world which keep operating. That knowledge is basically avidya. That knowledge is infinite. Nobody can know everything which is in existence in this world. Even if you read the life of all the scientists who have been in this world so far, you will not be able to grasp all that knowledge. That knowledge is infinite because the world itself is infinite. And that is why in Upanishads, one fundamental question has been asked, that what is that one single force? By knowing that force, everything else is known. And that force has been described as Brahman. That if you know that force, everything else is treated as known. Then you don't have to do this labor of knowing millions and trillions of things. For example, a person who wants to learn about music. Now there are so many variety of musics, and each variety has so many complications. Some people spend 20, 30 years to learn ragas. Similarly, 20, 30 years to learn classical Western music. And still they are not, fully grasping that subject. So one simple subject, you take a sports field, you take chemical industry, or you take pharmaceutical industry, you take the knowledge about vegetations, you cannot grasp it. You take any field. And moreover, that knowledge keeps changing over time. It's subject to change. And therefore, this knowledge of this world is infinite and cannot be grasped fully. You should try to know only as much as is needed for you in your daily life. That is one. So we don't have to crowd our mind with all kinds of knowledge. People keep reading all types of books and say, I am trying to enhance my knowledge. Actually, that is not enhancing the knowledge. That is crowding the mind with knowledge which is not of any worth and which is also subject to change with time. So the real knowledge is the knowledge which is called Vidya. And actually, Vidya is only knowledge. It becomes Gyan when it becomes internalized. So Vidwan is that person who knows the things, and Jnani or Sant is that person who knows and then internalizes it. So there's a difference between Vidwan and Jnani. Vidwan can have all the knowledge, but not necessarily practicing that knowledge. But Jnani knows the subject as well as puts that knowledge into practice. So this is what this Upanishad tells us, that we should know about this world to the extent we need it, but at the same time, we should transcend that and acquire real Vidya, which is the knowledge of the Supreme, knowledge of the Brahman, and then internalize that knowledge so that we start practicing that true path which we need to follow in the life. So that is Vidya and Avidya. And then comes Sambhut and Asambhut. Now, Sambhut basically means which has been manifested. Vyakt. A building has been manifested, it becomes Sambhut. A building goes into fire and reduces to smoke and ashes, then it becomes Asambhut. It is not visible at all. Our thinking process is Asambhut, but our language, our writing, our spoken part becomes Sambhut. When I'm thinking inside myself, you don't know what I'm thinking. It is Asambhut. It is not known to the outside world. It's not Vyakt. But as soon as I speak or as soon as I write, I'm able to make it Sambhut. It is Vyakt. It is demonstrated. Now here, the Upanishad tells us that we should know both the Sambhut and Asambhut and then transcend this world. Now, why it is so? We have to know what is manifest. Other persons we know, buildings we know, mountains we know. We know the nature and variety of its, manifestation, different plants, vegetations. Now we can't know everything, but we know basically that This is the manifestation of nature. This is what is visible. Then we also know that whatever is visible is subject to change. It keeps changing every millisecond. A tree is also changing, a mountain is also changing, a human body is also changing, body of other living beings are also changing. So the forms are changing constantly. This we must know. But there is something which remains unchanging throughout, and that is asambhut. Now my words are changing, my sentences are different every time I speak, but the inner thinking process remains unchanged. From that process, different kind of sentences and words keep coming out. So there is a force which is all the time unchanged, which remains behind the changing world. And that force is the same force of the Supreme, which was stated in the first verse, Ishavasya Sarvam. So the entire Sambhut world, entire manifested universe comes from Asambhut and then dissolves back into Asambhut. It comes out and then dissolves back. Like I was born, I came out, I became Sambhut. A stage will come that I will die, I will disappear, my body will disappear, my name will disappear, and that will dissolve into a Sambhut. Like a city came into being, it goes on fire, and it disappears completely in space. No trace of that city is available after some years. So it becomes Asambhut. So this is the cycle of yugas that's called a day of Brahma. In the day of Brahma, the life appears, all the manifestation of life comes. It runs for the whole day, which is 4.32 billion years. And after that period, when the night of Brahma starts, that entire Sambhut world, the entire manifest world disappears into Asambhut. And it takes what we call, vilay. In Sanskrit, it's called vilay. And it takes rest for 4.32 billion years. And then again, it comes back into manifest form. This is the life cycle. So if we understand this entire cycle, that all the things which are Sambhut, they are appearing from Asambhut and then going back to Asambhut, this cycle continues for eternity. And that is what we should understand. And once we understand that cycle, then we will be able to transcend this world. So these are some of the very important, I would say, lessons which we can draw, which are very fundamental in our life. Because those people who try to understand the Sambhut without understanding Sambhut, they remain in darkness. I gave you an example that there are certain people who do not believe in what we call, worship of forms, or they do not believe in, the deity or the form of the god. And they pretend to, pray for the Asambhut. They pretend to pray for what is called Nirakar, what is, totally non-manifest supreme. Now, whether they really understand him or not is a big question mark. In my view, a large number of such people, they do not understand the supreme and they remain in greater darkness all the time. And that is also reflected in their activities because they commit a lot of violence at times. They even don't hesitate to kill millions of people. So this kind of things are actually uh, leading them to darkness. If you understand both the manifest world and its origin, where it comes from, that is non manifest, then you understand this world in a complete way. You understand the night and you understand the day, and you understand the importance of the both. And that is what this Upanishad tells us, that we should understand both this world and the origin from where this world comes from. So, this is what is the essence of this Upanishad. Now, we are going to the last four verses of this Upanishad, which are primarily the verses in the form of prayer to the natural forces. Because when these Upanishads were written, the birth of Ram Krishna had not happened. And therefore, in Vedas and Upanishad, you will not find any reference to Ram and Krishna or any other form of gods. Because that time they only worshipped the natural forces. They talked about Agni, they talked about Vayu, they talked about sun and Yam, the god of death. And therefore, these four prayers which are mentioned here, they are referred to these gods. So let us go on verse number 15, the prayer number 1. आदित्य मंडलस्थ ब्रह्म का मुख ज्योतिर्मय पात्र से ढका हुआ है। हे पूजन, मुझ सत्य धर्मा को आत्मा की उपलब्धि कराने के लिए तू उसे उघाड़ दे। नाउ आदित्य मंडलस्थ ब्रह्म, नाउ ब्रह्म has a spark which is greater than thousands of sparks of a sun, or the sparks of thousands of suns. This has also been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 11, when actually Sanjay is describing the Vishwaroop of the Supreme Krishna. And he tells that now Krishna is appearing as if thousands of suns are shining simultaneously. So exactly this is the meaning here, that Aditya Mandalastha Brahma, its shine and spark is so, what you call blinding, so great that I am not able to see anything. Because even with this one sun, if we look directly into the sun, we are blinded. So this is what the Rishi is saying, that your spark, your shine, your illumination is so strong that I am not able to see your face. I am not able to see you. So he is requesting that kindly remove this spark, kindly remove this illumination so that I can see you properly. This strong illumination is blinding me and I am not able to see you. So this is the request to the Supreme, that you should enable me to see you in person. This is how it is. Now the next verse is refer to the sun. हे जगत पोषक सूर्य, हे एकाकी गमन करने वाले, हे यम, हे सूर्य, हे प्रजापति नंदन, तू अपनी किरणों को हटा ले। तेरा जो अतिशय कल्याणमय रूप है उसे मैं देखता हूं। यह जो आदित्य मंडलस्थ पुरुष है वह मैं हूं। Now the sun has been a great force, natural force. In all the ancient civilizations, you will find that sun god has been worshipped, because the sun, which is almost 15 crore miles away from us, regulates our life on daily basis. With the sun, we get up. When it sets, we start sleeping. Our digestive system runs with the sun energy throughout the day. When we call it jet lag, because our alignment with the sun changes when we go to a different time zone, and that is what is called jet lag. It takes several days to realign the body and the sun, and because of that, the digestive system, the system of discarding the waste, get disturbed. So that is what the sun is all about. It is also providing fertility to the earth, and because of that fertility, all the crops we reap are possible. All the plant life is possible. It is also the force behind the water cycle. It uh, takes the water, converts the water into water vapor, and those water vapor becomes clouds. And then again with condensation process, the clouds come down in the form of snow and rain, and the rivers and the snow mountains are formed. So the water cycle, also the air cycle, the airs are driven by the sun. When the heat of the sun creates vacuum, the air, the winds flow in that direction. The winds rise up and the lower winds go up. If you read the science of water, the air cycles, it is regulated by the sun. So the world which we see around us, the sun is a great regulator of that day-to-day world. And that is why the, the sage is praising and also praying to the sun that Ekaki Gaman Karne wala, he is the one who keeps moving all alone without any support. And he's also making day and nights. He's also creating months and seasons and year. So he is also in a way regulator of the time. He's like the yam. He's also yam in that sense because the time passes because of the movement of the sun. And with the time, everything keeps changing. Everything keeps ultimately destroying with the time. The sun is in that sense a form of, uh, you know, regulator, not only of the life, but also of the death. Then the sage is telling him, he's praying to him, that apni kirno ko utha le, that you remove your, so that I can see that, divine face inside. I want to see that divinity inside. And therefore, please remove this. And then at the end, he also says, Purus Soham Asmi. That means that I am also that supreme. And I am also not able to see myself because of this illusion. And therefore, please remove this illusion so that I can see the divine face in you and also in myself. So this is what this verse number 16 says. It is basically again a prayer to the sun god so that he can have darshan, or he can see in person the supreme force in the divine, in the sun, in the nature, and also in his own self. Now verse number 17. अब मेरा प्राण सर्वात्मक वायु रूप सूत्रात्मा को प्राप्त हो और यह शरीर भस्म शेष हो जाए। हे मेरे संकलात्मक मन, अब तू स्मरण कर, अपने किए हुए को स्मरण कर, अब तू स्मरण कर, अपने किए हुए को स्मरण कर। Now this is the last phase of life in which the sage is requesting Vayu. Vayu is regulating our pranic energy in the body. The 5 kinds of pranic energy, the main pran, saman, apan, vyan, and udan. All these 5 energies which are regulated by pranas in the body, He's saying that now you leave me. अब मेरा प्राण सर्वात्मक वायु रूप सूत्र आत्मा को प्राप्त हो. सूत्र आत्मा means that you can leave and disappear from me and my body reduces to ashes. Because once the pranic energy leaves, the body will not be able to function. It will start decaying and it will be reduced to the same five great elements which constitute the body. So he's saying basically that at that moment, my pranic energy, you can leave me so that my body reduces to the remaining five elements. And he's requesting his mind that this is the time that you should remember the Supreme. अब तू स्मरण कर, अपने किए हुए का स्मरण कर, that you keep remembering the supreme power, the power which is regulating this universe, the power which is pervading the entire living and non-living universe. You keep remembering it. This is what Lord Krishna also said, that the person at the जो अंत काल में मेरे को स्मरण करता हुआ इस संसार को छोड़ देता है, वो निश्चय ही मुझे प्राप्त होता है. So this is what the sage is saying here to his mind, that recall that supreme force, that force which is regulating the entire universe. Remember that force so that at the last moment of my life, I can remember him and I can become one with him. So this is what his prayer to the natural force is. Now, the last prayer is to the Agni. So let us see. हे अग्नि, हमें कर्म फल योग के लिए सन्मार्ग से ले चल. हे देव, तू समस्त कर्म और समस्त ज्ञान और कर्मों को जानने वाला है. हमारे पाखंड पूर्ण पापों को नष्ट कर. हम तेरे लिए उनको नमस्कार करते हैं. Now, sun is also a manifestation of Agni. But Agni is far more powerful than the sun. You see, the lamp is lighting, that is also part of Agni. That gives us light. It also gives us, removes the darkness. It is also Urdhgami, it goes upwards. It shows us the path that we have to go upwards. But Agni is the final cleaner. When things are not cleaned by any other force, then what do? We burn it. And with the burn, the entire thing is reduced to ashes and it is cleaned perpetually. Even when the gold is cleaned, what do? We put it in high temperature. All the impurities go away and only the pure gold remains. So this is, and even that pure gold can be reduced to bhasma. It can be reduced to ashes with the fire. So fire is the ultimate cleaner. When you have all this, cleaning we do on the earth, and finally what happens that, it goes to the water bodies, but again you have to clean that up. So you take it out from the water bodies and burn it finally. The burning is the last resort. Then everything is reduced to asambhut. It goes to the space where it came from. So basically what the saint here is saying, that, hey Agni, you are the source of all knowledge. You also know all my karmas. You are the only one who can cleanse all those karmas and guide me to Sanmarg, guide me to the good path. That is the prayer, that, hey Agni God, hey God of fire, you know everything because you are, illumination. You can know things only when things are illuminated. The sun rises, then we understand the world. When it is darkness, we don't understand the world. If there is a complete darkness, in fact, the form of light which we use, electricity, that is also form of sun. So if there's no electricity, no lamp, nothing, total darkness, we don't understand what is this world. We can't see trees, we can't see buildings, we can't see any other objects, we can't distinguish between mountain and river if there's a total darkness. So the knowledge comes from the fire. The fire is the god of knowledge. And that is why Agni is very, very important. And that is why all the, you know, what you call, you know, what you call pavitra thing, all the like, for example, your marriage ceremony or moving into the new house or you have something else, they are all done in front of Agni. Agni is the Shakshi. All the good things are done in front of Agni. All the, vows we take, they are taken in front of the Agni. Because Agni is the goddess of all knowledge and they all know, the Agni also knows all our actions. And Agni is the only power which can destroy our actions. And that is Gyan Roop Agni. The Gyan Roop Agni is also a form of Agni. Like we have Agni, we call it digestive fire in the body. That is also Agni, which digested our food and reduces them to blood and bones and flesh and skin and all that. So that is also a kind of fire. And this has also been said in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, verse number 37, in which says, Hey Arjun, जैसे प्रज्वलित अग्नि में ईंधन को खत्म कर देता है, कंप्लीट खत्म हो जाता है, आप कितने भी वुड डालते रहें, you keep putting lot of wood in the fire, it is completely destroyed. The same way, ज्ञान रूप अग्नि सब कर्मों को भस्म कर देता है. So this is the last prayer of the saint, of the sage, of the sage, that hey Agni, destroy all my wrong acts, all my pap karma, so that I can attain the Supreme. And you alone can guide me to that path. So this is the, I would say, conclusion of this great Upanishad. This Upanishad is short, but very deep. It contains deepest science of humanity. This has also been explained in different way in Bhagavad Gita. But this small Upanishad with the first 14 verses, we can learn how to live our life. So with these words, we pray to the Supreme that He also provides us that fire which can guide us from this darkness to the light so that we can transcend this mortal world to immortality. Thank you very much.